Hi, welcome to Messy Fiction, a podcast for all your lesbian needs. Today we're talking about Eloise Bridgerton. I am certain that my comment section will not be radioactive. I am certain that nobody is going to insult anybody, that everybody's going to be so, chill and polite. This is going to be fine. Guys, this is going to be totally fine. So let's do a little introduction. Uh, this podcast is just a little experiment, nothing too serious. I will try to put out an episode at least once a week. Hopefully you guys like it. It's called Messy Fiction because well I want to deal with messy fiction, and I think how should I put this? I think there's just a lot of drama, a lot of rage bait online when it comes to book reviews, movie reviews. But here's the thing, haterism is important. Being a hater is critical, and being hypercritical can be very useful to communities, very useful to art, and it's just I don't know. So I'm trying to kind of both make it clear that I am a hater at the core, but also I'm not rage baiting. I'm just being a little messy. So this is a messy fiction podcast. And today we're focusing on Eloise, a little breakdown on her whole deal. She is this. So Bridgerton, if you don't know, you probably do, but if you don't know, Bridgerton is this Netflix show that is in Regency era, and we follow this family and their love lives. They're very how should I phrase this in English? They're um they're very scandalous lives behind the curtains, so to speak. And there's a lot of siblings. There's a lot. There's a lot of siblings. There's a lot of drama. Every season, one of the siblings gets married off, finds their love. It's based off a book series under the same title from Julia Quinn, I think her name is. And the thing about those books, I've only read one. The thing about those books, they're very off their time, and I don't mean just off Regency. I mean they're very early 2000s, and mind you, I don't read a lot of romance, barely any, but from what I've heard, early 2000s romance, that doesn't matter if it's historical or modern, contemporary, they can be a little strange when it comes to their gender and racial politics. The Bridgerton show definitely tried to upgrade it. They tried to make it race neutral. They tried to make it a little bit more inclusive, but also they don't want to fully shy away from the circumstances of that time period. So we have Eloise, who's very explicitly a proto-feminist, right? Who does not care about the marriage mart, who does not care about getting married. She's one of the younger siblings, and she really wants to get educated. She really wants to see the world, but that's just not in the cards. Both because she's a woman, but also because the writers don't really care about her, don't really respect her, and also because of the genre. You know, it's a romance genre. She has to eventually get married. That's the setup we made. But what I found very interesting is that the actress has made statements. Wait, oh god, what was the? I think it was for season 3. Something she said something explicitly about how she doesn't have to get married, you guys, and have to live this particular lifestyle. That's how she phrased it, I think. That kind of gave me hope that maybe she's gonna stay single at least, but it's not looking like it. The showrunners changed, and the new one said she is going to end up with Philip, which I have a lot of feelings about that man. I have a lot of feelings. So yeah. There is also the issue with because she's one of the only proto-feminists we see, it almost feels like she feels very antagonistic, which I'm fine with. This is the Messy Fiction podcast. But a lot of the audience hates her because of that, and has a very much attitude of just shut up and get married, which is so uncomfortable and so misogynistic, and just very much tells us where we are globally. Well, it tells us where we are in the West. We Westerners, well, a lot of people would debate where my country falls, but I am European and white, so like, we Westerners are going very fascist. We're becoming incredibly right wing, incredibly like fascistic. So it's like it's not surprising that people are speaking this way about a young woman struggling, even though she just she's technically a very privileged person, a very privileged background, very rich. She is still very very struggling, and that's another thing, another aspect I do enjoy actually, is her privilege. It is seeing this push and pull, how she wants to do more, try more, but like she's constantly pulled back by her mother and the ton, as they would say. And it's just interesting, but a lot of people hate it. A lot of people like accuse her of being a white feminist, which like, yeah, probably, especially considering the time period. Yeah. Yeah, her policies probably are white feminist, so like, yeah. For this video, I do want to like, I think I'm going to spend most of this, oh my god, not the video, I'm sorry, it's the podcast, excuse me, but like the very first episode is definitely going to be up on YouTube, and then I'm gonna decide what I'm gonna do with this. But yeah, in a very first audio episode, excuse me, I think I'm gonna spend most of this time like talking about her separate relationships with everybody, then just focusing on her, and then we're gonna break down the title of this episode: Who is afraid of lesbian Eloise? We cannot talk about her without talking about Penelope, her one and only best friend, and it's such a devastating relationship, but also a very necessary one. But also it feels like the writers don't really know what to do with them. For very important context, you have to understand, I did not actually watch the latest season. I'm gonna do it. I honestly kind of want to, part of me is like, should I watch it for the podcast and then like every episode I do a breakdown? But here's the issue. I was so incredibly bored by season 3. I ended up, did I finish it? No, I didn't finish it. No, I did not finish it, which is such a shame because like her and Eloise, they're so interesting, so fascinating. And like I think the actresses are brilliant. Like Nicola is one of my favorite actresses ever. Like I'm a huge dairy girl head. Like come on. But it does kind of feel like that the writing room was like, oh fuck. One of the only like one of like the only one of the only like fat characters in the entire show is basically a villain. We can't do that. We gotta fix it. And it's so like, man, like this could have been easily avoided, especially because like apparently, this is my understanding, in the Regency era, thin was not in. So, this whole thing you're seeing on the show, this emphasis on these fragile little white girls, that seems to be like, yeah, the white girl thing was important to them, but the thinness was very much like added to the show apparently, and like it has to do with us in the modern time, our obsession with smallness. Regency era people did not apparently have that beauty standard from my understanding, so like I don't know, this could have been avoided. She could have still, Penelope could have still been a very insecure young woman, a very insecure teenage girl, a very like emotionally abused young woman, which, listen, let's be real, her mother is a piece of shit. I would listen, both of their mothers are a huge problem. That could be an episode in and of itself. And their mothers really affect their self-esteem, the way they move about the world, and like the way they are with each other. Like it's just so, I don't know, it's so sad. But yeah, to do like a refresh your memory, first season, Penelope and Eloise, they're very like adorable, very cute. They're like supposed to be like late teens, I believe, probably 18, 19, I don't remember the specifics about the age, but like they're in their late teens. They are, struggling with the society, and they find solace in each other, and like, but the solace is like they're not as close as they could be, because now we know, but we at the time didn't know this. Penelope is lying constantly. Penelope is going behind the scenes. She's trying to play mastermind. That definitely like fucks up the relationship. A lot of people, I've seen this comment constantly, like, oh, Eloise doesn't care about Penelope's feelings. Oh, Eloise this, that, and the third. Blah, blah, blah. She doesn't listen to her. That's not true. That's not true. I'll show you the most important piece of evidence. Like, Penelope finds out, like, you can get pregnant, like, like that. Like, it's nothing. At a snap of a finger. And she's confused because there's no sex ed in this world. She gets confused, and who does she run to share this piece of information? She runs to Eloise, and she once again lies because this time she has to do it for moral reasons. It's like, did you know that like my maid got pregnant just because she was in love or whatever? And Eloise is like, what? And she like listens to. It's supposed to be comedic, but like Eloise like truly cares and like is invested and like deeply, she retains that information. She like deeply cares and wants to get to the bottom of this, Not only because like they're finding out this new information about their bodies, but because Penelope is the one that's bringing this information to her. And that to me is like evidence enough that like Eloise does listen to her, Eloise does care, and there is this deep trust and deep relationship. It's just that like Penelope is just going through so much and this deep insecurity that's gonna turn venomous that like it dampens a relationship. And yes, like I understand Eloise does love to talk. My girl will not shut up. But like that's not necessarily a bad thing. And I've had those friendships, younger and older, where I'm kind of the person that like either talks too much and the other person listens, or it's the obvious, or it's the opposite. And that person won't shut up and I'm just listening. And that doesn't seem that strange to me. That doesn't seem that peculiar. But I've seen people argue like, no, this is so weird, like blah, blah, blah. Eloise just never listens to her. She just won't shut up. And it's just like, I don't know, girl. I think you just hate young girls. I think you just really hate young girls that are opinionated. And another, to me, less important aspect of this relationship, but like, of course, very important to Penelope, is that Penelope's obsessed with Colin. She's obsessed with Colin, but she's also like well aware that she can't just, be open about her feelings about him, which also definitely affects the Eloise situation because like I think it's pretty obvious. Penelope's been always interested in him, but like Colin is very full of himself. At the beginning, he's like not really paying attention to her. He's paying attention to other women. He doesn't even really see her as a woman, which is, I don't have a time to unpack that. Other people have unpacked that statement better than I ever could. And I think this is definitely an Eloise flaw. Eloise is like just not very observant to that kind of thing, that kind of dynamic, and she doesn't realize that Penelope's obsessed with him, and that does like affect shit. And if Eloise was just more observant, I think would that like, yeah, that would throw off their relationship, the friendship, because if Eloise truly was that observant, she would have figured out who Lady Whistledown is, not just realize that Penelope's obsessed with him. Yeah. Oh my god, I can't believe now I'm rambling about him. He was not planned at all. I was supposed to just talk about these two, but like there is no way to discuss Penelope Eloise situation without him, and he's just so fucking boring, but whatever, let's skip around. I also really want to discuss Eloise and her mom, just them separated, because that is such a, to me they're so toxic, and I know people don't agree. I know they love Violet, and I get it. Violet has been through so much, she's pumped out so many kids, give old girl a break, but it's just like she's just not a good mom to her, like at all. It's like there's such a classic dynamic to me. Obviously, other people, you guys are already typing out in the comments, if anybody's even listening to this. There's such a classic dynamic of a aggressively heterosexual mother and a lesbian daughter, and just the mother does not know what to do with her. Like her mom, never imagined she would ever have a daughter that doesn't want to get married, doesn't want to be all prim and proper, doesn't want to do this, that, and the third. She never imagined a life beyond the confounds a Regency era femininity. And like Eloise astounds her, Eloise scares her, confuses her, and it's just so sad the way the writers, especially, as more time passes, seem to like just not care for that dynamic, don't care about like developing it more, seem to kind of make fun of Eloise. It's just so uncomfortable, and I really liked. It's so uncomfortable, especially like in season 2, when like Eloise ventures out into the world, and tries to do good, tries to get more experience, to get more educated, get like more politically active, and she gets punished by Penelope and the taunt for it. And yeah, ultimately nothing technically happened. She was able to integrate in society, but that costed her her personality, her wardrobe. She had to like really dull herself down, become very feminine, and it was just like it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing that we really can't get into because again, I didn't finish season 3. But also I would bet all my money that Violet was so excited for Eloise to like calm down, become prim and proper, and read the right books that are not political. She was reading, oh my god, she was reading Emma. Oh my god, my daughter is reading Emma. I just know for a fact her mother was so relieved she had a controllable daughter, and that's just so sad. Right? Versus season 2, when Eloise has this lovely conversation with Kate about spinsterhood, and it was just like, I don't know, for a second I genuinely believed they're going to let Eloise be a spinster, because here's the thing. Yes, technically the genre is romance for the books and for the show, but objectively speaking, that's not what's going on. That's not what's going down. What's going down is that this show has become like an ensemble drama show cast situation, That makes no sense what I said. But, it's just not a typical romance situation. Somebody made a point. They were like, it feels like Bridgerton both wants to do the heated rivalry thing, where like heated rivalry, it's like very hyper focused on the lovers and everything else is secondary, right? But it also wants to do a big ensemble cast period drama. And it just simply does not work, especially because like it's 8 episodes per season and it's just so rough. And now they're doing this thing where just like first they're dropping like 4 episodes, then like 2 weeks break, and then or like a month break, then they're dropping the rest of the season. And it's like, this is so weird and unnecessary. Just like give us more episodes. Could you imagine how much more drama and like more character development we could have gotten with like the mom and Eloise? Like it would have been so interesting, especially because like I remember in Queen Charlotte, like we see the mom briefly, and it seems she was a much more a free spirit, much more of an Eloise when she was younger, and that's just so like, wow. Could you imagine if we could have like witnessed her full transformation to this, right? Because here's the thing, Violet is not only a bad mom to Eloise, she's also a really bad mom to Daphne and Francesca. Oh my god, Daphne haunts the narrative in my mind, because like we need to be very real. I don't know how much I can speak on this because I don't understand the current landscape, the current like algorithm of YouTube, and I don't know if I'm gonna get censored or whatever. But we have to be real. What happened to Simon in season 1 was essay. I think I can say that. And yes, it's 100% Daphne's fault. It's 100% society's fault, but it's also Violet's fault. I truly am convinced that the chances of that happening would have been lower if Violet just sat down and explained to her daughter how sex works, And it just, I don't know. And I wish that the show treated it seriously, because if it did, we could have gotten such an interesting drama, such an interesting and textured situation between her and Simon. But like it's very clear the show at the end of the day doesn't really care about the Simon that much, or like it doesn't really care about the love interests the same way it does about the Bridgertons, because the Bridgertons are the main characters. So like it was just kind of swept out on the rug, and we're supposed to believe her and Simon are just so happy, such a happy marriage. They have a child, which I hate. I'm sorry. They should have left that season without a kid. I think that was so evil. Simon had a completely reasonable reason to not have a child. But like, yeah, I'm trying to, I'm just trying to, explain just how Violet, even though she's charming and, fun and charismatic, she's just really not good at this. She's really not good at this. And yes, she like constantly talks about love and how important it is, but like it's one thing to constantly talk about it. It's a whole different situation to walk it. It's a whole different, how do Americans say it? To walk, to talk, to walk, what, you know what I mean. She experienced love once. It died years ago. She's been single and widowed for a while. She doesn't like, I don't think she truly remembers how that relationship felt, and it worked, and it just adds to her experience with life and her daughters. And it just so, I feel like I've said frustrating like 50 million times in this episode, but I'm sorry, I don't know how else to describe it. And then to add insult to injury, um, the way Violet just lets her male children run loose makes my blood boil. Like, yeah, she scolds them, but at the end of the day, she just lets them run loose, and then makes like the divide, the isolation that like Eloise feels so much worse. Like it doesn't really feel like she has anybody on her side except Benedict. But the thing is, Ian with Benedict, he is just like, he has his own thing, his own troubles, his own like confusions about life. He's like running around and have their moments like a respite where they're together. We see them, a couple of times with the swings and stuff. But like there's still a chasm between them. Because he can go out into the world and come back to the nest whenever he feels like it. But at the end of the day, Eloise can't leave. Can't leave at all. And the spoilers I've seen for Bridgerton season 4, it just feels so, oh god. From my understanding, it seems like Violet tells him like, he should go for his heart. He should go follow his heart and like be with, his one true love, who's like allegedly a maid, but actually she's not really a maid. And like, just go out, live his dreams. And it's just like, oh, so the male child can do that. Your son can do that, but like Eloise can't? Okay. And I just feel like I have a prediction that like their relationship is gonna get between Eloise and Violet and Eloise and Benedict. It's still gonna get worse. Mind you, it's going to be like much sadder for the Benedict relationship. Because, they were friends. They were actual friends. Eloise does truly see him as a brother and a friend. I think with Anthony, she just kind of like, he's a weird father figure to her. But now he's gonna disappear from the show because like, I don't know, the writers don't know what to do with him. They don't know what to do with him or Simone, and it just so clearly like, it just feels so racist to disappear Simone. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Because like, Kate is like such an important figure to the books from what I've heard. So to just like write her off like she's nothing is infuriating. And the fact they also have to like write out Anthony too, it makes me so mad. Like if you don't know, there was a lot of bullshit going on behind the scenes for season 2. And I believe Shonda Rhimes have said some very Shonda Rhimes said some very misogynistic things about Kate, and it's just like, it feels icky. I don't know. So like, yeah, my prediction is that her and Benedict probably are not gonna be friends. We'll see. We'll see. I've seen a lot of spoilers, but also I have not seen all the spoilers, so I don't know. But my point is, I think you now have a more or less clear picture about who Eloise is in these like relationships, in her most important relationships. But now we're going to talk about her quote unquote least important one, her and Theo, which is so, oh my god. Theo should have come back for season 3 somehow. I don't care. we desperately needed him. Like other critics have pointed this out, but like season three was like very heavy on the aristocrats, on the rich people. Like it was so elitist. I hated it. And we just needed him. I missed him. Genuinely missed him. Mind you, I didn't like even ship them that hard, but like I don't know, he would have been such a breath of fresh air. And like I don't know, I would have loved to see some kind of a conclusion for their relationship. Anyways, so why did I say he's the least important? Well, it's because the writers clearly don't care about him either, or maybe the character didn't want to be, the actor didn't want to be involved anymore. I don't know, but also it's because of Eloise, who Eloise as a person is. Eloise, like I think her top priority truly is education, and she's probably never gonna get it, which is so sad. Her second priority is her friendships and family. You know, like yeah, she really wants freedom, she really craves it, but I don't think right now it's on the board for her. I think she might have given up on that dream. Even though I know in season 3 at the end she like goes off to Scotland or whatever. I heard that we don't see anything or hear anything about her time in Scotland, which is why would you do that then? Why would you send her off if we're just gonna pretend it didn't happen? That is so okay, fine. But yeah, her freedom is no longer on the board. So like again, her education, her friends and family, and then at the bottom of the board of her needs and wants is romance. Because at the end of the day, I just have a hard time picturing her as somebody who's ever going to see romance as something that's to be put on a pedestal, something that's like super duper important, super like oh my god, soulmate, oh my god, destiny. Romance is so important. It's my destiny to find my better half. I'm sorry, she's just never going to be that kind of person. Even in theory, if they somehow pull off that kind of character development with season six, apparently she's going to be the main character for season six. I don't think they're going to do it well. I think they're going to fuck it up. I think it's going to be messy and poorly written. So like, yeah, romance for her is at the bottom. So of course, Theo is technically the least important relationship for her. But even though he's the least important one, we find out so much about her through him, about her shyness, about how awkwardness, about like her being just in love and having this crush and being a teenage girl technically still, and it's just like I don't know, it's so adorable. And we get to see her have banter with somebody who's not Penelope, which is very important. And it's just like they genuinely have really good chemistry. I think her and that actor, like they're a very good choice together. And I was envisioning what would it be like if Eloise just like ran away with him? It doesn't even have to be like a romance situation, but just like ran away with him so she can have quote unquote freedom in poverty in a way. Because like yes, like the severity in the economic severity is really bad, like we learned that in season one with Marina's situation, but like I do think in a way we see these lower class women have more freedom, more mobility because they're not constantly, worrying about the taunt, worrying about the scandal. And I think Eloise in that predicament would have been so good, and it would have been a callback to season one because like Anthony season one wanted to run away, wanted to leave everything behind for Sienna, and that would have also been, a very good plot point. But of course, they couldn't commit to it because season two was Anthony's love story, Anthony and Kate's love story. But like, still, God, such a missed opportunity. Such a missed opportunity. I just know that like, if this show had such a big cultural impact, and like I feel like I don't read romance, but I could definitely feel like it probably had made waves when it comes to Regency era books, because I feel like especially like in recent years it seems like we're getting more like racial diversity and some queer diversity, and yet the actual show itself is so scared of misogyny, of letting go of misogyny, of like being creative in doing something interesting, and also treating its cast members fairly. And I'm just trying to imagine what's going to be like if we do make it to season 8, 9, or whatever the fuck. Like, are they actually going to be able to pull it off? Are they actually, is the conclusion going to be satisfying? Are we going to, at the very end, finally respect female characters and female, and actresses? And I'm really struggling with imagining that, bestie. I'm also really struggling with the fact that, like, Netflix constantly cancels shit, but this somehow made it to season 5. And to be fair, at least season 5 is going to be a lesbian season. I hope to God the writing is going to be good, but you never know. You never know. Because at the end of the day, this is kind of conservative propaganda. Like, if we really sit, listen, if you like really sit down and process what's going on, what's happening, it really feels like conservative propaganda, especially when it comes to Eloise, this character who's just been very vocally anti-marriage, anti-children. Now her season is like, coming, it's looming, and they want to stuff her into a cage with Philip and his twins, his twin boys, I think. And it's just like, apparently in the book, um, he essays Marina, who commits suicide because, like, I think Marina is dealing with like some postpartum situation. I'm not sure, but like, yeah, she commits suicide because of it. And then he essentially like marries Eloise for like convenience because he wants somebody to take care of his kids. And the vibe is very much like he just sees her as a babysitter he can have sex with, and it's just so uncomfortable and so strange, and people constantly defend it. Like, if you go on Twitter, if you're out there fighting the good fight on Twitter for Eloise, you will see so many like Philip fans constantly defend him, and then like Philip haters, like people who don't like that ship, will pull up like screenshots of direct quotes, paragraphs from the book, and it's so clear that this man hates Eloise, that this man does not respect her, see her as a human being, and it's just like, whoa, they're going to have to butcher this book, they're going to have to destroy it from the inside out, but even if they truly change it completely, I'm still going to hate it because, like, in this Frankenstein genre show, where it's not a true romance, do you really have to marry off every single one of them? And do you really have to push children on all of the characters? Because it really is giving conservative propaganda then. It really is. We're selling to women this trad life propaganda in silks and bows and ties, and it's just like, and stolen blood diamonds, and it's just so. I really want to have like an interview one day with a heterosexual fan of the show. I really want to see how they see this, because to me, so my introduction to the show was season 2. I just watched it without context, and it was so. Yes, it had its problems. Anthony's a misogynist, and that should have been dwelled into deeper. But I enjoyed the drama. I enjoyed like how well the dynamic was developed at the very end. I enjoyed the messiness. I enjoyed like the family situation. I enjoyed like Kate's struggle to keep them afloat. I think like the class struggle really shined in season 2, and that was very well written. Kate is a very well written heroine that we got to see struggle and have flaws and be interesting and be funny and be the prettiest girl in the room, and it was great. It's great to see a well written female character in any show. And yes, the gowns are gorgeous. I'm sorry, I do fall for that propaganda, and I kind of wish we could have stayed there. You know, I wish we could have stayed messy, but instead we're doing this. And also, it's important to point out that, like, when it comes to Kate, especially, Kate did want companionship, but, like, she knew it wasn't in the cards for her because, quote unquote, she was old. So there was that want there for, like, kids and family and stuff, I guess, but, like, Eloise truly does not want it, and it's just so hard. I think it's almost impossible to write a story with a character who, like, female character, who for seasons is like, I don't want this, I don't want this, and then they push it on her, and then they make it seem all right and somehow quote unquote good and or progressive and stuff. I think that's nearly impossible. So they're just not gonna do it. And like, I think that all of these reasons that I just broke down and all of the poorly explained relationship situations that Eloise has, it just creates this very uncomfortable cocktail of homophobia and misogyny in this fandom, because on one side you have people who they claim they like Eloise, the book fans, but it's so obvious they're actually fans of Philip. They're actually hardcore fans of Philip and, of what Eloise can do for Philip and, how they like project their ideal femininity onto her. They don't really accept that the character we see on the screen has nothing to do with book Eloise. And they see it as like betrayal for the mere idea that Eloise might be gay or might be a lesbian, or fans see her as gay because, before Francesca, if you have told me we might have a gay season of Bridgerton, I would have been like, you're bullshitting me. Before Francesca, before Benedict came out, like, I thought it was bullshit. But now that, like, Benedict came out, Francesca is gay or whatever, there's a part of me that's like, maybe in theory, if we're loud enough, lesbian Eloise could happen. Or maybe Claudia could pull some strings. I could definitely see Claudia being like, no, I don't want her to be with a man. No, I don't want her to be a man. I could definitely see that happening. Would she be respected? I don't know. But like, But also because of how homophobic the fandom is and how tired the fandom is of like Eloise's quote unquote unconventional friendships and family drama, I'm not sure they would be able to accept her. I'm not sure she would be beloved. There's also this whole thing where people are like, it's too stereotypical for Eloise to be gay. Why are constantly mean girls being gay? Why are constantly like, girls who are not feminine being lesbians in shows? It's like, what are you talking about? We never get stereotypical lesbians on shows. We never get butch lesbians or studs or masked lesbians. We never get that. Every time there's a lesbian on a show or a movie, she's very feminine. She looks very heterosexual, to be frank. So like, no, her being a quote-unquote stereotypical lesbian would not be strange. It would actually be fun and unique in a way. And it's like, I'm sorry, it's just, I've been talking for so long, my mind is all over the place. It's crazy. It's crazy that I am discussing the possibility of lesbian Eloise. Even though I know I just said it might happen, but part of me is like, it's not gonna happen. But also, I would have never guessed that Francesca is gonna happen. The lesbian Francesca would be canon. I would have never guessed that. Like, that would have been so unfathomable to me. Like, I don't know. Do you think Queen Charlotte is gonna make gay marriage legal? Do we think that's possible? I'm trying to think of a satisfying conclusion and ending to this very rambling podcast rant review, but I don't know if I have it. I just wanted to, state my feelings, state some facts, quote unquote. I do want to point out that like fandom culture seems to have been always so queer and so gay. And it is very like disheartening to me to witness such a heterosexual fandom on my timeline, on my For You page, on my Tumblr, it just so, like, how do you live with yourself? How are you a heterosexual person in a fandom? Like, what are you doing here? Like, this is a separate situation. But I saw people on TikTok complain about people like headcanoning. Oh my god, why can't I speak? They were complaining about people who are like, oh, Toph Beifong is a lesbian, Toph Beifong is butch. They were complaining about that. They were like, no. Toph is clearly a girly girl. Toph is clearly feminine. Look at how long her hair is. And it's just like, what? Like, they were dead serious, and it's just like, oh my god, these people are actually straight. It's not a joke. Like, listen, sometimes I think people are joking. They can't actually be straight, but they are. They are truly straight, and I just hope that season 5 is so gay and makes so much money. They make season 6 gay. Ideally for her character, she should be alone, but if she has to be with someone, you know what? Set her up with Marina. But that is probably never going to happen because the actress was mistreated on the cast, on the show, whatever. So that's never going to happen. And just, oh my god. Can you imagine? You're mistreated at your job, but your character still lives on. Marina's still alive, and now they're just gonna randomly kill her off for season 6 if they decide for whatever weird reason to keep that aspect from the book. That's just so. Yeah. I think I have nothing else to say. Thank you for listening. My name doesn't matter, of course, but this is Messy Fiction. This is going to be a quote-unquote weekly podcast. Please tune in. Please give us a like and a subscribe if you can. And this is sponsored by me. Myself and I. Yeah, just me, myself, and I. I'm probably going to have like a coffee link down there in the description. So if you feel like, giving me a tip, that would be beautiful. If not, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm also considering like maybe, I don't know, maybe doing like a monthly thing on, oh god, what's that called? So like I think on Coffee you can like be my monthly subscriber, and I'm thinking about like maybe putting up like episodes early for monthly subscribers if that will be your thing. But like thing is I don't know. Oh god, I don't know if anybody's going to like listen to this or care about this. I don't know, I'm just like spitballing basically. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and good night. See you later.